makapamasyal si Jay
Berna Romo
ang kanyang mga biyahe
na allowed you.
pero di lamang mga
Octary
Class, I'm your teacher Raina Rose Pereber for the subject Tour Guiding. In this subject, today we will tackle the tour guide or tour guiding in many aspects. This subject helps you to become a guide and helps you to present all aspects of your region to tourists. They assist travelers in having a nice experience and take the best possible care of their guests. This program teaches you how to become a professional guide and how to gain the skills and knowledge required to function as a guide. The primary goal of the WFTGA, or known as the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations, is to promote, market, and ensure that the tourist guides are recognized as regional ambassadors. They are the first and sometimes only depiction of the population that a tourist may be encountered. The World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations is a non-profit, non-political organization that brings together tourist guide associations from around the world, individual tourist guides where no association exists, tourism partners of both the WFTGA and member associations, educational institutes in tourism for tourist guides, convention and visitors bureaus, and affiliate members who have a direct or indirect association with the tourist guides. WFTGA not only provides services to its members, but also interacts with individuals looking for professional region specialized tourist guides and where to find them. We also aggressively promote the associations and industrial partners of our members around the world.
Hola! It's adventure time! I'm Maria Elizabeth G. Casin, your adventure guide for today. But before I start to tour you, let me just give you a brief introduction about the tour guide. What is tour guide or the tourist guide? But wait, I know you're confused about the two terms, tour guide and tourist guide. It is the same? Well, the term tour guide refers to someone who guides the tour. It is commonly used by Americans, while tourist guide means someone who guides the tourist. It is commonly used by Europeans. So, these two terms are the same, but the terms tourist guide is preferred to be used. So, the tourist guide is not only someone who takes tourists on tours or guides them around the location. Tourist guide was the one who provides brief information such as history and origin about the places. And tourist guide are divided into different sections such as museums guide, exhibits guide, park guides, adventure guide like me, historical guides, freelance guides, and many more. GADAT has approved this type of tourist guide, even though it is a public and local. The tourist guide has responsible and have a duty that we have to follow. Tourist guide should be encouraged the tourists also. Even if it has a negative aspect in the place, the tour guide should have a backup plan to make it a positive experience for the guests, such as the history, story, trivia, or fact about the location or the place.
Good day, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful morning so far. I am Daniel Palayo, or you can also call me Danny, your park guide in accompanying you for today's very exciting and informative trip. Let me share with you some very important and helpful details and information about the DOT accreditation process for tourist guides. Let me begin by stating its importance. Being accredited by the Department of Tourism means that your operations are recognized as having complied with the highest social and environmental standards on the market for tourist guides, ensuring that he or she provides reliable quality of its facilities and standard of services. For those aspiring tourist guides out there, here are some very important qualifications and requirements to remember. These include, number 1, being a Filipino resident or permanent resident for foreign nationals. Number 2, minimum of 18 years old. Number 3, physically and mentally fit. Number 4, not have been convicted by any crime by a court of justice. Number 5, have completed second-year college or 2-year vocational course. And number 6, proficient in English. For the documentary requirements, you will need, number 1, occupational permit. Number 2, proof of passing your training or seminar corresponding to the desired tour guide classification. Number 3, valid health certificate and drug test results. And number 4, NBI clearance for regional and specialist guides and barangay clearance for local guides. After completing all the said requirements and qualifications, the application for the accreditation online may now be held. Here are the simple steps for the application to take note of. Number 1 is to register online, plus provide your filing fee. Number 2, upload all the needed documents as stated a while ago. Number 3, wait for their assessment. Number 4, final payment and approval. And number 5, the wait for the release of the certificate.
Hola, mi amiga, or should I say, mabuhay. I am Jenny Isushana Esilia, your historical guide for today. I hope you had a wonderful day ahead of you. Are you excited for this trip? But first, let me give you a few things to remember. First, since we have a pandemic, always wear your mask and bring your alcohol whenever you go outside. Second, make the most out of your time. Since we have a new video for this day, I hope you had fun and learned new things. And always remember to have a good memories. I am your historical guide for today, and I want you to give a quote. Take my hand and cherish it, for I always come right next to it. So let's start the introduction of the different types of tour guide. Let me start with two kinds of tour guide, the staff guide and the freelance guide. When we say staff guide is someone who has a specific travel agency. They are employed in a travel agency. They have their own boss or employer. And actually, they receive also a formal training. And from their employer, they give them a regular salary. While for the freelance guide is someone who doesn't have any specific travel agency, but they can still do a tour. Actually, marami rin silang nagagawang tour. And don't take it negatively that they don't receive any regular salary. And let me give you some brief information about the salary of freelance guide. In our country, the approximate salary of a freelance guide is 3,500. But it still depends because they have a commissions from different places like the souvenir shop. And actually, both of them have a commission. Now, let me give you what is historical guide. Historical guide is someone who leads the group to the historical places, monuments, landmarks, and other important historical sites. This guide gives a history or background of a place. So if you want to know the history of a place or a certain place, you should hire a historical guide. Just look at these beautiful and majestic places. Another type of tour guide is special interest guide. A tour for the tourists or travelers who wants to experience something based on their experiences or interests. It is more focused on a particular activity. And this type of tour is something that the travelers requested to do so. A tour guide is someone who leads the tourists to interpret the natural wealth of a place through the outdoor activities. It is more focused on ecology and geology. So, sa mga mahilig sa plants dyan or sa mga natural or nature, it is the best guide for you. Next is city guide. City guide is someone who leads the group to the busiest and most commercial area of the place. It may point out the most famous places in the city, and the guide is able to share a worthwhile information about the place. And actually, it is the most famous guide for this because particularly travelers want to experience the city life in a places. And actually, it is one of my favorite guide. Another type of tour guide is museum guide. Museum guide is someone who gives a tour to a particular museum, of course. Usually, they are considered as staff guide because they are employed in a particular museum. And also, they give informations about the arts or artifacts in the museum. Park guide is another type of tour guide who gives a Park guide is another type of tour guide who gives a tour to a specific theme parks, zoo, or even a national park. It may point out the attractions and informations about the park. And usually, it is the most favorites because of theme parks. And many children wants to tour about the parks. Another type of tour guide is step-on guide. Step-on guide is someone who will step on the bus. They usually give you information while you are traveling from one place to another. And here is my partner to give you another types of tour guide.
Good day everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Mayan and I am your guide and will support you during the tour. I promise you are going to enjoy and never forget this tour. So while we are not arrived in our destination, let me explain what an adventure tour guide is. Adventure guide is one of the most exciting type of tour guide. They are the one who are ready to embark upon any adventure. Usually, they are in more organized excursions and outings. As an adventure guide, you should be courageous and have the passion to discover new things. In addition to knowing relevant facts and navigation information, adventure guides often possess the practical knowledge, skills, and equipment patron needs to enjoy an activity or sports. Some common types of adventure guides are: first one, The river guides. A river guide is responsible for assisting people on rafting trips down rivers and rapids. Your job's duties include preparing the rafts, giving safety demonstrations, and leading the trip on the water. You need a strong swimming skills and must have experience rafting the rivers in order to become a river guide. You need a passion for the water and wilderness. The second one, the climbing guides. Like a raft guides, climbing guides often provide their guests with equipment to climb safely in an area. Climb guides may lead guests on the bouldering, sports climbing, or multi-pitch adventure where they might teach techniques, be like climbers, and provide instructions. The third one, the trail guides. Trail guides are well for information. They provide general information about the region, land management, contact information, maybe some history, warnings, rules and regulations, and more. Trail guides also provide detailed information about trail. Either way, the trail guide should help you plan your trip. The fourth one, the hiking guides. Hiking is not just walking around. This is why the role of mountain guide is essential to safe and interesting hiking experience. Guides are in charge of planning and balance program according to your needs and fitness level. Hiking guides may should also tours navigate difficult terrain like glaciers, mountain passes, and mountain peaks. The fifth one, the fishing guides. A fishing guide leads guided fishing tours and techniques other about fishing. This job requires extensive knowledge of fishing and boat operation. In particular, you need expert knowledge and experience in your local water to know where fish are biting and what techniques to use in each location. You also need excellent social skills to keep your guests happy on all your outings. The sixth one, ATV tour guide. ATV tour guide are guide expedition led by experienced guide through rough terrains or other trails. Each guest will ride on the ATV or all-terrain vehicles on trails or dirt roads. The difficulty of the trails or roads will depend on the ability level of the riders, as well as the specific tour being led. Last but not the least, the seventh one, cave tour guide. Cave tour guide lead and assist the tourists in cave, giving information about the cave system, imparting to visitor understanding of the delicate ecosystem of a cave and enhancing their knowledge of the rarely visited part of the natural world. Well-prepared and knowledgeable tour guides can provide positive educational experience for visitor natural tours. What do you think about being a tour guide? It is happy, right?
Hi, good day my dear tourists. Are you excited for this tour? Well, this is the perfect time for our tour, and by the way, I'm Kelly, your city tour guide for this moment, and it's my pleasure to serve you. But first, let me give you some information about the city guide. As you probably know, a city guide may give tours of a city, bikes, buses, recrows, and cars, or on foot. City guide also point out the historical and restaurants or architectural points of the interest. That's all.
Hello, I am Angel Anjiman Harris, your museum guide for today. Now, we will talk about the responsibilities of the tour guide. First, they provide information and explanations honestly without prejudice. As usual, tour guide will give an accurate and precise information even if it's too confidential. But it will accompany with respect and promoting the tourist destination. Also, they provide the right information without any hesitation to the guest, so that the guests, they will spread the right information to other people who didn't know the particular area.
Second is, ensure a punctual presentation and make sure to distinguish the truth, stories, legends, and traditions.
Third, act fairly and reasonably with all dealings in colleagues and co-workers. Yes, it is. We should act fairly and reasonably, especially in the tourism and hospitality industry, because it is a key in which it contributes to the employees about feeling safe and engage the work that they produce. Not only that, but we are working together, so we deserve together peacefully and properly.
Fourth is always act with tact and diplomacy in dealing with the guest.
Fifth, protect the reputation of tourism by making every assignment a treat with respect to the environment, wildlife, local customs, and traditions. In the different sector in our country, there's always a competitive environment, especially in the tourism industry. So, the tour guide, they have a long-term strategy that fortifies our industry. Thus, they provide and promote in protecting the environment and respecting the environment. And yet, it is our responsibility to take care of it by educating other people, choosing sustainability, planting trees, not throwing the garbage everywhere, and other ways in protecting the environment, especially the wildlife. In addition, they also promote in respecting local customs and traditions, and that we should respect, understand local customs and traditions even if it's different from us. Because I believe if we understand together, if we unite together and respect together, we can make a difference.
And the sixth is, which is the most important, is to ensure the guest safety.
Seventh, act responsibly as the representative of the country and the people. Because being responsible, it pays big dividends and we will gain respect in our country, especially to the foreign people who visited our tourist destination.
Now let's proceed to the duties of tour guide according to Dole. First is meet clients at the airport. Is manage meals and transportation through the tour. And lastly is lead the activities specific to the tour. And that's all.
To our lovely guests, welcome. I am one of your tour guides for today, and my name is Princess Joanne Kayla Banyola. To make it easier for everyone, you can just call me Kayla. Just a brief background about what kind of tour guide I am. I am a freelance tour guide. The first thing you should know about a freelance tour guide is we are not working for any companies. We are independent guides who were hired for a certain tour or for a certain group. We also get hired if a certain company and their tour guides can no longer accompany other tours because of the volume of the clients. Are there any of you here who wants to be a tour guide? If so, here are some tips you should remember if you want to be a tour guide. Number 1, the first thing to do is determine whether you actually want this job and have the skills necessary. It's easy to be seduced by the dream of being paid to travel, but the reality is a lot tougher. This is a job that rewards people who hustle, who are good at networking and don't mind uncertainty of the gig economy. Number 2, determine what kind of guiding job you want. Great, so you're not turned off by all the hats you have to wear and skills you have to develop. Next is you have to think about what kind of work you want to do. What are your interests and passions? What works with your life schedule? Or do you want to travel to new destinations or develop work in your hometown? Number 3, get training and license, if necessary. We obviously believe deeply and passionately in the value of learning guiding skills in training program. However, don't let any prospective program fool you into thinking that you're required to get some sort of certificate or certification before you can start doing your job. You don't. Number 4, get a travel guide job or you can start your own business. So you've decided to pursue this job. You know the sector you want to work in, you've done your homework, you've got your license or training done. And now it's time to get hired and work. Last is number 5. Start working and never stop learning. Being a guide is not a get trained and be done kind of job. It requires a constant thirst for acquiring new skills and knowledge. The more you know, the more tours you've developed and led, the more you're valued to future employers. So you always keep reading, take the tours, and get out there and discover your own secrets of where you lived.
Okay, class, what did you learn for today's lesson? How about you, Miss Dayo?
Me? Can you please repeat the question, ma'am?
Yes, Miss Dayo. What did you learn for today's lesson?
Aside from the definition, the different types, the duties and responsibilities, the qualifications and tips for being a tour guide, I have really learned a lot more, which is, being a tour guide is also not an easy job. Sometimes people tend to look down on them. Sometimes tourists tend to ignore tour guides as they speak and give knowledgeable information. But in the discussion today, we can tell how they really work, and this lesson is helpful for people to understand that. Because I know some people still do not have any experience with a tour guide, so they also do not know how these people work. They are still professionals and they aren't just a tour guide, so we must still pay attention and give respect to them. Anyone can be a tour guide. I can be one of them too. And actually, I am considering it now as my job in the future.
If you're a tour guide, how would you define yourself as a tour guide?
Ma'am, I think if I am a tour guide, I will be very cheerful because I will always wear this smile of mine, which is very natural for me because whenever I talk, I can't just stop smiling. And at times like that, I feel like I will also be really talkative because I hate silence, but still with right manners and in the right place. I feel like I can connect easily with my tourists because I am an extroverted person. I always love to go outside, meet new people, and bond with them. I am always the one who approaches people first that seems new to me. And of course, as a tour guide, it is important that you can build that rapport easily with your tourist. Lastly, I think I will be very energetic during tours. I know this is one of the qualifications before being a tour guide, and that I must really possess this characteristic. But when I say energetic, I will really be energetic, for I also know how to make jokes. I know how to make people laugh. You won't see any tiredness on me because I am happy-go-lucky person. Plus, traveling and exploring too, in many different places, is my thing. So, as a tour guide, I will always be excited just like what those tourists feel when they go around traveling.
Okay, Miss Dayo, thank you. Such an inspiring and interesting answer. Very good. That's all for today's class. See you next meeting. Goodbye and thank you for participating in today's lesson.